You were looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which fell 184 points today, or 1.08%. And the volume was, slightly above the 50-day average, actually 22% above the 50-day average. Anyway, the market was cautious today ahead of the PCE, the inflation data tomorrow. And it usually is a little cautious ahead of these numbers. And if they come in a little benign, then we have a relief rally. But, you just got to wait for the data. But halfway through, or maybe more than halfway through the session today, here it is. You could see that the sell-off accelerated as the headline news came in about the AMD, the U.S. administration government, reining in the chips that AMD and NVIDIA can sell in the Middle East. So, algos trade on headline news, and that's a big headline. So the Nasdaq sold off today. You could see that after the around, I don't know, around 11 o'clock after the European closed, the market started to rally. The Nasdaq had a little rally going, but then that headline hit and the algo sold off. So tomorrow, my expectation, if you look at this, you say, oh, wow, the Nasdaq sold off down to the 10, we've sold off a couple days in a row, closed near the lows of its days. You would expect it to trade down tomorrow, but I don't. I expect the data to come in, kind of average and expected, and then we have a little relief rally on Friday. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If I go to the weekly chart, you can see that it's down 1 point. It was flat in today, so it's 1.09% down for the week, 184 points or whatever. Anyway, after a 5-week run, a little breather this week, but I see a lot of fear, a lot of panic, a lot of negativity, a lot of bearish sentiment out there. My gosh, on just a 2-day sell-off and a pullback down to the 10 EMA. Now, big sell-offs start with a little selling, right? So you always have to be mindful of that, and you always have to practice risk management. You don't want to be too aggressive, and then give back some of the gains that we've made on this 5-week rally. So anyway, the Nasdaq did close above its 21 and above its 53% above the 51% above the 21. So tomorrow's another session. I think the algos just sold off, and then we're just being really cautious ahead of this inflation data. And I really don't get that, because the Fed's not going to do anything. They haven't done anything in nearly a year. I think they pretty much have their mind made up. They're not going to do anything for a while. The NVIDIA is the tech bellwether here. I'm not going to go through all the Mag 7. NVIDIA pulled back today on that news. It was having, just a little bit of a, give back today, you could see. But then, the selling really accelerated after that headline hit, and kind of, a lot of stocks sold off with that headline. So it just kind of accelerates once the algos fire up their sell programs. They don't stop. And so anyway, NVIDIA was down 3.7% today. And I think it's just time to base. Like I mentioned yesterday, it made a 20% move from this Thursday, May 22nd, last Thursday. So it's been a week, made a 20% run in a week. And now, like most stocks, you have a 20% breakout, and then you pull back and you kind of base for a while. So I would expect this to be, I wouldn't say dead money, but I just expect it to form a base and allow the moving averages to catch up, and that's fine. So it splits on June 10th. Maybe it'll split around, I don't know, 110, between 110 and 115, 120. That's what I would expect. Anyway, let's move on. So AMD was the other stock that was mentioned with, the U.S. reining in chip sales in the Middle East. And you can see this one sold off as well right here. It was having a nice day here, a nice little rally. And then the news came in and it sold off here. Let's get the total damage. Yeah, okay, it was up nearly 1% today. So AMD looks above the 50, just forming a base, right? This is what I expect NVIDIA to do, is just kind of form a base. They don't go straight up. They got to, have bases. And That looks like it's going to form a base. AVGO Broadcom, another one that, I kind of like. It just pulled back to its 21. No, I really like the, this chart setup. It's only a good stock though if it trades higher. Trades lower, then it's a bad stock. So it traded down to its 21 today. Once again, these algos and the headlines, I mean, you just can't fight them. You can see the caution though ahead of tomorrow's data. And that really was a concern even before the headline news. And anyway, we'll just have to wait and see for tomorrow morning and see what happens. ARM, another one of these semiconductor fabless stocks. It's above the 50. It looks okay. Above the 50 is okay. It was a nothing burger today, just flat as flat can be, which is good. When the Nasdaq's down 1% and you're flat, that's good. That's outperforming. AMSC, they reported earnings last night, and this is a power equipment stock, and this one is made a move, not to be ignored, right? 11% move with volume. So I just wanted to point that out, that not all stocks sold off today. But I've got to get to the, I don't know, should I start with the winners or the losers? You want to go negative or positive? I think I'm going to go positive first. So if you go positive, you have to go to the retail names. They're holding up well. The consumers, eating out and they're consuming. That's what Americans do. When they're working, they consume, and that's what we're doing. Foot Locker, just had a low bar to hurdle, and they did that. Closed at the low of the session, which you don't like to see. 5% of the daily range, but still a 15% move. We'll take that, all day long. And it helped the shoes, the athletic shoes stock. Deckers was having a really good day. And then even it sold off, towards this right here. It was really ramping hard. And then even with that headline came in, and when the algos sell, they sell everything. They just, sell programs, start, and they just, as the expression goes, throw the baby out with the bathwater. I hate that saying. Anyway, we keep our babies. We love our babies. CROX made a new high today. This one again was ramping pretty hard and then pulled back. But still, you could see this cup with handle pattern, the breakout. This thing looks to me like it wants higher prices. So yeah, the retail names are doing great. I did mention the restaurants. CAVA is one that's just been, on a tear right now. They reported earnings yesterday, I believe, and saw some CAVA hummus at Whole Foods. They don't have any restaurants here, but they have hummus at Whole Foods. Anyway, you could see it was having a nice day, and then fell off into the close, like everything else. Same old story for today. Sweet Green pulled back. Gapped higher. This is one of our gapper stocks that we're monitoring. Pulled back to the 21 and just had an inside day today, so that looks pretty good. And then EAT, Brinker International. This one's on a heater and just trending higher. So talk about a power trend. There you go. And I'm going to move on. I have to get to this negative news. Sorry, folks. Got to do it. I blame this sell-off today before the headline news. I blame it on Mark Benioff. He talks a big game, but man, you got to deliver the numbers. And he guided lower. I mean, you look at these numbers here and you go, oh, 11%. That's kind of what they've been doing every quarter, right? And earnings are better, but they guided lower. So if they're going to be the big king of software and AI, they've got to raise guidance. They didn't do that. The market punished them, I think, a little excessively. There are 20%, they're losing 20% of their market cap on a couple billion, right down. I don't know. That seems a little excessive. Speaking of excessive, Nutanix, unbelievable that this thing was down 23% on the CEO said they lowered guidance next quarter, but not by a whole lot. And the CEO said that a couple of vendors were having a hard time paying, and so they couldn't, count on that revenue. So maybe that revenue comes in, maybe it doesn't, but that's already been discounted. For this thing to lose nearly a quarter of its market cap, which was what, it was 16 billion going in, now it's 13 and a half. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. Looks like a way overreaction. And my formula for holding into earnings is to take the lowest one-day loss which I believe, if I can find it here, it was prior to this about 4%. I forget the date. And then you add the 5% stop loss, so about 9%, give it 6% stop loss, 10%. So if you had a 10% cushion going into earnings, you should be able to hold it. But man, it was down 23%. So my formula did not work on this earnings report. That was unbelievable and completely out of character for that to fall that much. You know, triple digit earnings growth, you know, accelerating sales growth, and wow. They're just selling software today, and that's why I blame Mark Benioff. Monday, I'm just kidding, folks. They're just selling software right now. Hardware is pretty strong, software is soft. Mondays, you know, sold off with the news. It had been building the right side of its base. Now sliced its 10 with the, you know, everything in software just sold off today. My goodness. CrowdStrike, you know, sliced the 10, sliced the 21, straight to the 50. You know, they report next week. So if, you know, if they report a strong quarter, I expect it to bounce back, but you don't really want to see that, you know, in the chart. It was trading tight, moving really nice. I had this on the ready list, in fact, and then the software just sold off today. I mean, this stuff happens, but down 10% and nothing changed. Nothing changed with CrowdStrike. In fact, they got upgraded. That didn't mean much, did it? But also in, you know, software, you know, you got to take notice of stocks showing strength. Spotify, this computer software media stock just pulled back to its 10, you know, down less than the index. So to me, that's a sign of strength. And that's something that, you know, if the market starts behaving well, the spot will likely resume its uptrend. It's still in an uptrend. It's just traded down to a moving average. So not all is lost in software, but man, a lot of those stocks got hammered. And I know some of you were holding NTNX and had, you know, big gains in them and just giving some back. So that stinks. You don't want to give back gains. And anyway, you know, you don't want to fight the trend. You know, if you're holding this, you don't want to fight, you know, this trend because it's probably going to trend lower down to the 200. So, you know, you just got to take your gains and move on, and don't try to hold out that, you know, buyers are going to come in and save this stock. They're selling software. What can you say? You can't fight it. Novo Nordisk. Now, this morning, Goldman Sachs raised their estimates on semaglutide to 100 billion to 130 billion, which I think is still far too low. Dr. Gottlieb said that he thought more than 10% or more of American population, which is 330 million people. So you're looking at 33 million people on semaglutide, and Novo Nordisk and Lilly cannot have manufacture enough drugs for that. And that's just the Americas. You know, you're talking about globally the obesity issues, and it's global. You know, Europe and Asia and South America. So there's big demand for these, and they have patents for 10 years out. So to me, this is a long play. Novo Nordisk is playing the long run, but I wanted to take a look at this stock a little closer because it's forming this beautiful base here. This is textbook chart. And even though the index sold off today, you know, Lilly and Novo do not trade with the index at all. They have a mind of their own. They trade to the beat of their own drum, but you can see this, you know, a nice symmetrical cup-shaped pattern. Now it's forming a handle here as it pulls back to its 21. And to me, this looks fantastic. If we take a look at the weekly chart on Novo, you can see that it sold out. Well, first of all, you know, you can see that earnings line heading straight north, which I like. But you can see it sold off 6 weeks in a row. If you just count them here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then kind of bottomed. Got some buyers came in, then pulled back again. So it's 8 weeks, 9 weeks, had a nice move, 4% that week, 10 week, 11 week, up 3% last week, and now this week, the 12th week, which is, you know, 13, that's, excuse me, 3 months. And next week will be the 13th week, 3 months of just forming a base. This looks textbook to me, this cup, and it just needs to form a little handle. You need to be patient with this one. It's, you know, got a lot of shares in the float. It's not a fast mover, but, you know, I just believe longer term, these guys are going to do well. And this thing is forming a nice symmetrical textbook type of a base there. It just needs a little handle. And so be patient with that one if you're along that one, which I am. Eli Lilly, again, just it's a double bottom base, a little different than Novo, in that it's well above its moving averages, where Novo's pulling back to the 21. This one's 2% above the 10. So Lilly, up again, while the tape was weak. So showing strength, but these guys, they don't trade with the tape at all. You can just throw the tape out. Don't even look at it with these ones. And so with all of this need for these obese weight loss, compounds and drugs, Viking is one that is just should be a pure play. They have 3 catalysts before the end of this quarter, which is the end of June. So gonna have to watch out for this one. And if the trial data is bad, it's going to get a big haircut. But if it's good, I could see this thing rallying back up, and I believe it's going to be good. But this is a total spec biotech with no, real sales or earnings growth at all. So you got to be careful there. CALT, just another one that had positive trial and moved higher today, made a new high. And what can you say? That looks fantastic. SMMT. Yeah, 272% move, not to be ignored, breaking out of a base. I want to say that they had a positive phase 3 trial, and I'd have to look more into that. I'll have more in that tomorrow morning. But that's a heck of a move that you don't want to ignore. And this is why people get enamored with biotech stocks. They get rich in a day. But to me, that's really not the way to play the market. You want to be more strategic. But putting 1 or 2% in a speculative biotech is certainly not the worst thing you can do. All right, I have to acknowledge the solar stocks. You can see the group is now 20 out of 97 and 197. First Solar made a big move last week. I want to say about 40%, and now flat this week, which is good with the indexes trading sideways. Another one is ENPH, which is forming the stage 1 base here, which to me, First Solar is kind of the leader of this group. And InPhase has just made this bottoming, said it hit a bottom, then retested the bottom. Now it's building the right side of this base here, and trades above that 135 level. This thing could move. If you look at the weekly chart, you can see how the big sell-off and how long it's been since InPhase has been out of favor. Looking at a year and a half, and it's been consolidating for nearly a half a year there. So this one could move. We'll see. People say, well, gosh, look at the fundamentals here. It's got real negative growth here, but the chart could be ahead of the fundamentals. That could move before the earnings come in. So keep an open mind and be flexible. NXT is another one in this group. I called First Solar the leader, but this one is doing well on its own right, forming a cup. Probably needs a handle pattern. It's ran from 42 up to 56, which is a fast move in a very short period of time. So we had this bottom, a retest, and then the move higher. So NXT looks good as well. Anyway, that's it for the solar. I got to get to the data storage group. Very peculiar move in Pure Storage today. They reported a strong report, and in pre-market it was like up 70 or whatever. And I thought, yeah, they were kind of priming the pump here for a sell-off, because it's already made a move out of this double bottom base, right? I think the buy point was back around 55 area, and now it was up 70. So that's a good time to take profits when you have a gain like that. Anyway, yeah, it's a big move. Great report, triple-digit earnings growth in this group of Micron and Western Digital and NetApp. It's a cyclical business, and their cycle is turning around. You could see the earnings line is starting to point due north. Micron is another one in this group. Is still in this base here. It needs some time. You can see it's only been 1 week where it's pulled back, and it was back down 4% today. But let's see it pull back to the 21 and see what happens there. Western Digital is another one that I mentioned. in a base, I like it. Just pull back to the 10. Like I say, the closer you can get them to moving averages, the better. Anyway, group is strong. I have to take a look at some of these power plays because I think there's really three themes that are really investable. The one is, of course, AI and everything that goes with it, the data storage, the networking, and the hardware, the software, blah, blah, blah. And then there's the energy plays. And then Constellation is one of these with a nuclear component, broke out of a base, just mining its 10 EMA, up in a week tape today. It ran up to what, 236 last week and just pulled back. This one, it looks fine. Another one in this group is Eaton. This is a big kahuna. 133 billion market cap, just mining its moving averages, and that's what you want to see. Power, I call it power, Quanta Services, trading above the 10 EMA, just trading along, Kelly Slater stock surfing the moving averages. And that's what I like to see in these stocks that I own. I don't want them going too crazy up. And when they pull back gradually and find support and bounce. And this is Sterling Infrastructure, and this is exactly what is happening here. Ran up following earnings report, pulled back to the 21 and lighter volume, and now a little bounce today. And then PRIM, Primoris Services, this is a maintenance for those power plants. And talk about a Kelly Slater stock on a heater. That's a big wave surfer. Looking very good. Anyway, I had to go back to some of these. Somebody asked me, like, why don't you cover this one or that one? There's over 60, stocks that gapped here recently following earnings, and I can't go over all 60 every day. So I'm just going to show a couple more today. This is Bluebird that makes the the buses, the EV buses, and it made a new high today, and you could see those David Ryan ants. So this stock is getting institutional support. INSM, this did not go up on earnings. This went up on data, and you could see that 3 days in a row just firing higher. So that looks fantastic. THC, which is Tenet Healthcare, which got an upgrade today, made a new high, and since the breakout, this thing has just been a thing of beauty. Another one is Tandem. I think I showed Tandem yesterday. Made a new high today. That thing looks fantastic as well. Up 3% while the market is, selling off. And okay, VITL. I think I showed this one as well. Anyway, just making new highs. So when stocks make new highs, they usually continue to make new highs, and that's what these are doing. So anyway, I'm going to move on and say thank you for watching. That's it for me, except for I have one more thing. I've got to go through a couple of earnings reports tonight. And I don't have time to go, sift through them, real close. I'll have more in the morning, but NetApp appears to have a good report and, a stock buyback program. It's up more than 1% after hours. So we'll see how that one plays out tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't do what Pure Storage did today. DELL, this one ran a lot into the print. So it's pulled back to 150 tonight. And that's, near the 21. It's still above the 21. So if it pulls back to the 21, that's fine. When a stock gaps higher and then runs like that into earnings, I mean, it's going to be a sell the news event, even with, knockout numbers. I believe I peeked at this earnings report and their servers were up 42% year over year. So, the Jensen Huang keeps praising this as an AI play, and it certainly looks that way. So anyway, let it come in, though. This is why you don't chase performance. You can say, oh, man, look at Dell's running. I'm going to buy it up here. And then, you're down 12% the next day. That really stinks. You don't want to do that. Zscaler reported. I think it was a good report. It's up 15%. It's below the 200 here. Look at these moving averages trending lower. It looks like it's going to get back to 180 tomorrow, but man, what a sell-off for Zscaler. Just got to wait and see what happens tomorrow. But I'll go through the report a little closer tonight and have more in the morning. A Costco, this is one of the big bellwether. So you got, bellwether data center play. You got a bellwether retail stock. It's down 1.7%. You got a big, strong cybersecurity stock and a data storage stock. And you got one of your cosmetic stocks, and I did peek at this one. It's up 10%. It wasn't that great of a report. But sometimes it's like you've been down so long and everybody thinks you're just gonna, I shouldn't say, I shouldn't be graphic. Everybody just has low expectations. And so you report something a little better than low expectations and it goes up 10%. So it's back to 420 and after hours. Okay, MRVL is a semiconductor fabless. So this is into AMD, NVDA. But if you want to buy a stock in a group, you don't want to buy the laggard, you want to buy the leaders. And so MRVL, yeah, it's down 3% after hours. To me, if you're going to buy in this group, you buy Broadcom, AMD, or NVIDIA. I mean, NVIDIA obviously is the bellwether. Okay, another one, MDB. I've never really been attracted to MDB, but this computer software group has been beaten down, and this one's going to get beaten down more tomorrow. I didn't even look at the numbers at all, but somebody just posted to me it's down 20% after hours, and it sure is down 23. So that kind of stinks. And since I'm on software, Elastic reported a good quarter. I did look at this and it looked like accelerating sales growth. It looked 17 to 19, and I believe tonight it was 22, which, after a big sell-off here, accelerated sales growth should be rewarded. I would expect this to, drive through its, 50 there above 100. So we're just gonna have to wait and see on that. But that looked like a pretty good report from Elastic. And let me see. The last one is Gap stores, and the retail names. I'm telling you, the retail's where it's at. I don't know if they sell Crocs at Gap, but the retail apparel shoes group, pretty strong. And this one's up 20% after hours. I didn't really get to read the report. I'll have more tomorrow. Abercrombie and Fitch here today is in the same group, and that one, had a big move yesterday, and then today, a 24% move. Nice, give back 5% today. So just an inside day with some profit taking. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on today, but I believe the overall theme of the market tomorrow will be the PCE data, the inflation data, which will be released at 8:30 Eastern time, and my report will go out a little early tomorrow as I'm traveling. But anyway, at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. Don't panic over a couple of days of selling. So it's bound to happen. Have a good evening. Never give up.